Despite me going on record saying that I don't really like Tom Holland's portrayal of Spider-Man, there's no denying the fact that he had a very strong start. I enjoyed all of his scenes in Civil War, even if he had a very small role in that film overall. It's in every film since then where things have gone downhill, which unfortunately started with Homecoming. Whilst Far From Home and No Way Home are guilty for character assassinating Peter in various ways, Homecoming is guilty for nerfing the shit out of his powers, whether it's him being very weak, uncharacteristically unintelligent, or just incompetent in general. This film definitely nerfed Spider-Man into the ground, which we're going to be going over in today's video. The first thing that Peter is guilty of is an issue not only in this film, but also a reoccurring thing in the trilogy. That being the fact that Peter just cannot keep his mask on at all. There are honestly too many examples to go over, and I'm genuinely surprised that more people don't know that this guy is Spider-Man. The first one being when he does this shit in the middle of broad daylight. The second example being at Liz's party, where he is sat in the Spider-Man suit without the mask on, and it only takes one person looking out the window at the wrong time to discover his secret identity. The final example I'll go over in this video is after the Ferry encounter, where Peter is once again sat in daylight with his mask off. I find it funny that Iron Man of all characters could keep his identity a better secret than Spider-Man could in his solo film. But now moving on to general acts of incompetency. First of all, I've no idea how Peter almost drops the fucking web cartridge here when he's shown to easily be able to grab the thing in Civil War. Like, his reactions are far too fast for that shit. Also, if he's finding a place to reload his web cartridges in an experimental suit that he has little experience with, why doesn't he choose a more secure area like a rooftop or something? The next scene with Peter is the bank fight, and things start off harmless enough. You know, he's cracking jokes, he's punching the guys, he's knocking them to the ground, but then we get this moment. How is the thug with the Captain America mask able to catch him off guard with the Chitauri weapon? In Civil War, not only can he react to a point-blank Winter Soldier catching his punch effortlessly, but his spider sense also alerts him to an object thrown at him by Bucky in the fight. As a result, I find it a little hard to believe that a random guy can get the drop on Peter. But you know, fair enough, Peter's only human, he makes mistakes. All he has to do now is web the device out of his hand. I mean, he was smart enough to web the gun out of the thug's hand at the start of the fight.
Well, what is that thing? I'm starting to think you're not the Avenger!
Peter instead lets himself get ragdolled by this weapon reverse engineered from Chitauri technology. Friendly reminder that Hawkeye and Black Widow in the first Avengers movie was able to perform better than this. He does eventually web this thug to the glass, however instead of webbing all of the thugs down, he instead leaves himself wide open for the guy in the Hulk mask to get the drop on him. Friendly reminder that this was a group of random humans. A character like Spider-Man should not be struggling this much, especially since it nearly results in civilian casualty. And this is something that Peter should be very aware of since he's been Spider-Man for around 8 months at this point in the MCU. Keep in mind also that beating up groups of armed henchmen was something that Tobey and Andrew's Spider-Man were capable of performing despite being Spider-Man for a matter of weeks, and not a matter of months. We then get this moment, which is a bit of a piss take if we're honest.
Oh, this must be where the ATM robbers got their stuff.
Okay, what the hell is that?
Peter is literally spying on Vulture's henchmen in this scene, and yet he is still dumb enough to not put his phone on silent or mute at the very least. Not only could this have further risked his identity being discovered at Liz's party if his phone went off and people looked in the direction of the sound, however, as a result of this, it makes Shocker and his accomplice think that they've been double-crossed, which could have resulted in this poor fucker's life, forcing Peter to give up the element of surprise and making him look overall a lot more incompetent than he should be, with this act of incompetency leading into another one. Peter getting off-guarded by a human being with a glove is ludicrous, since this didn't happen in Civil War with the Winter Soldier. Also, we saw in Civil War that Peter is not dumb enough to throw himself in the way of armed opponents.
He also said to go for your legs.
Not to mention he should have seen this attack coming from the start, because there's a crazy thing called spider sense.
When whatever happened, it's like my senses have been dialed to 11.
Oh God.
Also, even if we run with the idea that Peter was caught off guard, I don't believe that this attack should have fucked him up as much as it did. In Civil War, he gets a vibranium shield to his face from Captain America before recovering and going on for a counterattack. He proceeds to get kicked into metal by Captain America and instantly recovers to perform his greatest on-screen lifting feat at the time. Yet you're telling me that a single punch from that glove is able to have him on his ass? I don't believe it's that strong at all. When Peter recovers, we get this long drawn out segment of Peter just getting his ass kicked by a fucking van. This right here is complete disrespect to MCU Spider-Man. He should be capable of web-zipping onto the van since less experienced Spider-Men were able to do it. He did a similar thing with War Machine in Civil War, so I don't know what's stopping him here. Or he should use his adhesive powers to prevent the van from moving at all, since we saw him do something similar with War Machine in Civil War.
I got him.
Or fuck, he could outrun the van in general since super soldiers weaker than Spider-Man were capable of doing so. Especially since in the very next scene, Peter has no buildings to swing onto and he has to run and take a shortcut in order to catch up with the van. Yet instead of making use of his insane superhuman speed and sticking to the rooftops where he has the natural advantage, he instead does all this shit.
Who is Spider-Man? A vigilante, a public menace.
Once Peter eventually catches up to the van, he is ambushed by the Vulture, where Peter just flails around like a dumbass and does absolutely nothing to save his own life. Compare this to when he's grabbed by Falcon in Civil War, and his immediate reaction is to defend himself by any means necessary. Yet in Homecoming, he just flails around until the Stark suit parachute kicks in. He doesn't even think of using the web shooters, meaning that if he didn't have a parachute and if Iron Man wasn't nearby, he would have drowned in that fucking lake. Some hero this guy is. However, the rematch with Vulture is even worse. Peter has the drop on Vulture and just sits there monologuing. And after Vulture jumps back on the truck, Peter webs his supplies instead of webbing him, with Peter standing there in pause mode whilst Toomes goes to his wingsuit. Peter at this point in the film knows how dangerous Vulture is, and yet he makes no attempt to stop him. Oh, and then we get this, which is the cherry on the cake.
Not a great plan.
We then move on to the fight scene at the ferry, and once again, things start out harmless enough. You know, Peter goes against a group of armed thugs, and he actually does really well this time. No complaints from me, the first part of this fight is really good. Part of the reason for this is because at the vault, Peter actually made the effort to learn everything that the Stark suit was capable of, making him a more efficient fighter.
Hey, Karen, what else can this suit do? What?
Maybe we should run that refresher course.
Rapid fire is the default for enhanced combat mode. Ricochet web.
Ricochet web.
You have 576 possible web shooter combinations. Splitter web.
Web grenade! Mr. Stark really overdid it.
Peter is now fully aware what the Stark suit is capable of, yet he uses almost none of this at all in his rematch against Vulture. He shoots 2 strands of webs at him that are relatively ineffective before firing many webs at him that Vulture easily cuts through. Even webbing Vulture to a car doesn't slow him down. Peter eventually uses the taser webs, however this plan backfires because it causes his weapon to go into overload. This fight really highlights how incompetent Peter is in this film because he had so many options that could have easily ended the fight. He could have rapid-fired Vulture and restrained him instantly. He could have tased him at the start of the fight, which would have ended the fight a lot sooner. He could have thrown 1 web grenade and fucked over the wingsuit. He managed to hit Vulture with 6 strands of webbing. I don't know how any of these plans could not have worked. But now we move on to the fucking ferry destruction.
Oh my god, what do I do? Karen, give me an X-ray to the boat and target all the strongest points.
You are 98% successful.
Upon learning that he was 98% successful, Peter had so much time to web this final column. Yet he sits there like a dumbass and then proceeds to be surprised that his plan starts to fail. And despite his pretty smart plan earlier of targeting all the weak points, Peter decides that the new course of action is to fire 2 strands of web and T-pose. All that webbing that you fired moments ago is rapidly breaking, and all of a sudden you think 2 strands of webbing held together by your dumbass is gonna make any difference at all?
Not a great plan.
At the very least with Tobey's Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2, he fired 2 strands of webbing, that plan failed, so his new plan was to fire a shit ton more webbing. But Tom basically did the opposite. He fired a lot of webbing, that backfired, and so his new plan is to fire less webbing and somehow expect it to work this time. Ugh, what a mess. Now for the rematch against Shocker, where Homecoming unironically expects you to believe that a random guy with a boxing glove is going to do anything at all to Spider-Man. Not only does his spider sense fail to warn him of this attack, but somehow Shocker is able to follow up with a counterattack before Peter can reach his fucking web shooters. Peter sees the bus coming towards him and yet he makes no action at all. He doesn't try dodging the bus or slowing the thing down by force, which is something he should be strong enough to do. Instead he lets the bus hit him, and this fucks him up so much that Shocker gets in another attack, which Peter doesn't dodge either, with Peter lying helplessly inside the bus, which allows Shocker to attack him yet again, with the film strongly implying that Peter would have died to Shocker if Ned didn't intervene.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it.
The movie tries framing it as Peter not needing the Stark suit to be a hero, but in this scene, Peter is quite literally nothing without the web shooters, since a random human with the web shooters is able to do something that Peter could not do, that being beat the Shocker, even though Peter didn't need the web shooters to catch Bucky's arm. The final bit of nerfing and incompetency for Peter in this film is when he only webs one of Toombs' hands. Like, why don't you web both of them, you fucking tool? You were smart enough to do this with Falcon and he wasn't even a fucking villain. And from there, Peter doesn't even try to stop the glider, which is the one thing that Vulture needs to complete his plan, which is something that you were also smart enough to do with Falcon in, you guessed it, Civil War. It's hard to believe that Peter can be this incompetent when he was shown to be really damn competent in Civil War, despite being Spider-Man for less time, going against Captain America and actually doing pretty well, utterly embarrassing the Winter Soldier and Falcon whilst not even taking the fight seriously, damages Giant Man and is a constant annoyance to him, with Peter being the one to come up with the plan that results in Giant Man being taken out of the fight. And all of that from the least experienced version of MCU Spider-Man. Then we go into Homecoming and he struggles against a bank full of goons, gets destroyed by Shocker not once but twice, gets ragdolled through the suburbs and does fuck all to prevent it, gets humbled by Vulture in their first encounter and then makes 2 pathetic attempts to stop Vulture in their first and second rematch. And that's not even factoring in other moments of incompetency, like not putting his phone on silent when he's spying on villains, or when he fails to stop the boat from splitting apart when he has plenty of time to do so. All of this evidence on the table creates a night and day difference between Peter in Civil War and Peter in Homecoming, and as a result of this, I think that Peter was objectively nerfed in Homecoming, and it's not even close. But that's what I think. What do you guys think? Consider liking the video and dropping your comments down below, as it really helps with the algorithm, and if you enjoy more content like this, why not subscribe to the channel and join the Discord server? I thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.